We, growing up as composers, the one thing I can say for 20th century composers is history is flat. We have access to everything in the world, and unlike Vivaldi, who heard what he heard, and Mozart, who heard what he heard, and so many other composers of the past, we really have access to everything, and it's a blessing and a curse. But I look at it as it's a challenge. I grew up with every sort of music imaginable, and my influences are really from every sort of music imaginable. I played both. I was in a rock and roll band growing up. I played jazz. I was a drummer, so I played jazz drums. My experience as a kid was playing in that orchestra that I mentioned, the youth orchestra. I played timpani, and I learned. We played the Lutoslawski Concerto for Orchestra and the Penderecki Capriccio for Violin and Orchestra, and played Mahler 1, and every both bread and butter, but also avant-garde pieces. So I loved and learned orchestral repertoire very early on from inside the orchestra, and that was something which caught my attention very quickly, writing for orchestra. And I love the orchestra, and that was huge for me. I also sang in a chorus growing up, and vocal music is very important to me. So sort of the opposite of being a percussionist, which is all about rhythm, my impulse is singing, and very lyric music, and also very dramatic music. So when I was younger, growing up, there was very little that I could, to be a serious composer, you had to be an avant-garde composer. At the time, in the 70s, it was really only one way to go. You had to be a serial composer. It was all a very different world then. The early composers that really caught my attention were people like Messiaen and Elliott Carter, who were composers who were writing in an advanced style, but yet were still writing music. But quickly I decided that I had to find my own course. That once I got the Rome Prize in 1977, and I was in Rome, I realized, no, I have to do this myself. I don't care, whether people aren't writing notes. I don't care whether they're, doing this or that or the other thing. I got to find my own thing here, and I have to do it. So my influences really have been throughout the years. First and foremost, I have to influence myself, okay, and that I have to look to myself, because that's the thing. But there have been so many phenomenal, great composers, such as Benjamin Britten went up for vocal music and for opera. Henri Dutilleux, so many American composers, which I've been with the American Composers Orchestra as the artistic director for many years. So there are so many fantastic American composers, from the mainstream ones like obviously Copland, which we all know, to my teacher Jacob Druckmann, who taught me how to orchestrate just by my learning his orchestration. And he of course learned from Ravel, so it's a very good lineage. I tend to be very open and Catholic in my taste for music. I don't really care about, I'm sort of post-stylistic, and I've been a very strong proponent of that for many years. I don't believe that we should be looking at music as either, tonal or atonal or experimental or conservative. I just find those nomenclatures, rather misleading and unfortunately polemic. So I just find all good music is good, and bad music is bad, and I like to be influenced by good music, whether it be the composers I aforementioned or the latest indie pop music, indie rock music, which I listen to for, because I'm fascinated by it. One of my students 8 or 9 years ago sort of went through how people were doing techno at the time in layering, and I actually learned about it because I was interested in it. I mean, am I going to do it? I don't think so, but it intrigues me. I'm always interested in things that catch my ear, so. I look at myself as a polyglot who's been influenced by a lot, but ultimately it filters through my own sensibility and what, you don't always necessarily see those influences come out. I don't wear the influences on my sleeve. I try to internalize them and make music which isn't about my influences, but is really about itself, and that you forget, whatever would go into it.